Hey guys, in this video we will learn how to solve quadratic equations in factor form using the zero product property. To better understand this process, we have to know what the zero product property is. So the zero product property states that if you have two quantities being multiplied times each other and they're set equal to zero, for us our quantities are namely A and B, then it is true that both of these quantities, when they're separated, are also equal to zero. So we have A equals 0 and B equals 0. And the zero product property is amazing because it allows us to do special things with these equations, solve them, and get solutions for our quadratics. So let's see what that looks like. In our first task, it's telling us to use the zero product property to identify the values of x in the given equation. So whenever you see a task to identify the value of x, you know you have to solve the equation. So looking at this example, we have x minus 7 times x plus 1 is 0. I know I'm able to use the zero product property because I have two quantities being multiplied and they are set equal to 0. So let's apply it. I have x minus 7 that can be equal to 0, and I also have x plus 1 that can be equal to 0. The parentheses are not needed, so we can go ahead and drop those off. And then now we have two equations that we can solve. So if I solve my first equation, it's a one step, add 7 to both sides. That gives me a solution of positive 7. So x equals 7 is one of my solutions. And then if I come and solve my second equation, it's another one step. I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides to get the value of x to be negative 1. So we know that when we solve quadratics, we can get up to two solutions. So for us, we have 2, x equals 7, and x equals negative 1. Let's do another example. In this example, we're still using a zero product property, but if you notice, the second equation that you're going to get requires more than one step to being solved. Let's see what I mean by that. We have one equation, x plus 2 equals 0. Remember, we separate them. And then my second equation is 3x minus 7 equals 0. Solving my first equation, this is a one step, so subtract 2. And that gives me x equals negative 2 as one of my identified solutions. And then coming over here to solve the second equation, we're going to have to do more than one step. Our first step we're going to do is going to be to add 7 to both sides. So I got 3x is equal to 7. And then lastly, to isolate x, we have to divide by 3. I like to leave my answers in improper fractions. There's no such thing as an improper fraction. So 7 over 3 is my solution. You can convert that to a decimal if you like, but it's not necessary. Right, so those are our two solutions, negative 2 and 7 over 3. Let's try one more to make sure we are all on the same page. In this example, we now have a variable being multiplied in the front. So we have x times 2x plus 1 equals 0. So it doesn't look like the other examples that we had, but if you look at the zero product property, we do have two quantities being multiplied times each other. So I kind of color-coded them where A will be your x and B will be what you'll have inside the parentheses. And we know we can use zero product property because it equals 0. All right, so let's set both of these equal to 0. So I have x equals 0 as my first equation that I'm going to solve. And then my second equation that I'm going to solve is going to be 2x plus 1 equals 0. All right. Luckily for us, these are my favorite. X equals 0 is already solved. That's nothing to do there, and it is one of your solutions. X equals 0. And then coming over to equation 2, if I proceed to solve it, I need to subtract 1. And that gives me 2x is equal to negative 1. And then I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides to get my second solution to be x equals negative 1 over 2 or negative 0.5, whatever you prefer. All right, I hope this video better explains how to solve quadratic equations while using the zero product property.